Welcome back to the show, Surf Splendor, episode number 512. My name is David Scales. Today's guest is with professional surfer and New Jersey's pride and joy, Sam Hammer. I have been a fan of Sam Hammer's surfing for 20 years, 20 plus years. He was a mainstay in the magazines through the 2000s. He recently popped back into my awareness through a program that he has co-founded. It is called Surf Health Pro. It's designed to basically keep you surfing for longer. As you know, I age. I'm at 42 now. As I age, I'm always interested in ways to stave off injury, but also lethargy, just ways to kind of stay feeling vital and young. And so this totally appealed to me. Sam is 45 years old. He's still surfing at a very high level. If you follow him on Instagram, you'll see he's as frothy and as healthy as any 20-year-old kid. So lots to discuss in today's show. All of it, of course, is made possible through support from our industry sponsors. We have Veyer Watches, VeyerWatches.com/surfsplendor. We'll save you 15%. This is the solar powered watch. No battery needed. 6 hours of sunlight powers the watch for 6 months. So check that out. Also go to realwatersports.com to check out their latest Under the Glass surfboard review video with Brett Barley. He is reviewing the Pizel Red Tiger. That just dropped today. Real deep dive into that board. It's an awesome groveler, perfect for the summertime. And then Rourke.com. We'll save you 15% on Rourke with promo code Splendor15. They just dropped their new summer line of clothing inspired by their recent trip to Sardinia. Check these out. These are the Boatman 2.0 board short made out of Cordura fabric. Incredibly thin but strong. They are lifetime guaranteed. So the new summer line of product is the same quality, the same cut, the same materials that you love from Rourke, but redesigned patterns, color palettes, perfect for the kind of arid hot summer. It'll keep you cool. They're all lightweight, great materials. Thank you, Rourke.com, promo code Splendor15. All right, enjoy today's show. My name is David Scales for Surf Splendor, and I really hope you enjoy my conversation with Sam Hammer.
Surf Splendor.
Can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear. How you doing?
Fantastic. How are you doing?
Good, man. Good. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Glad to connect with you. I've been following your surfing for decades now, it seems.
Thank you. It's been quite a long journey, that's for sure. So
Good. Well, glad to finally connect. Well, I was wondering, in preparation for this, what's the ethnic origin of the name Hammer?
it's more German than anything.
Okay.
All right. So I mean I did one of those 23andMe years ago, and there's a lot in there. So between it's like French, German, Irish, there was even a little bit of Scandinavian, Icelandic in there, which was pretty cool. But I'm like 90% sure it's German. My dad doesn't really have a good reason for it either. So who knows?
It's got to be maybe shortened from like Hammerstein or something.
Hammerstein, Hammersmith, something. I'd imagine it's something along those terms,
Yeah.
So, but which one it was, I'm not 100% sure. It's funny, nobody's ever asked me that before. So,
Well, it almost feels like a made up name. It's such a great name for a surfer. It feels like your
it
stage name.
is. Well, it's funny. Sorry, I have sunblock on. I like ran in here.
That's all right.
It's funny, like growing up in the, when I did, MC Hammer was a real thing.
Oh,
So it was nonstop with the verbal abuse from, like, not that I care. It was kind of funny, but it was just, it was always hammer time. It's like, God, how many times can you hear that, So
Your
it's pretty funny.
career, would you ever guess your career would outlast MC Hammer's?
No. Listen, I think he made and went through a lot more money than I did, though. So I'm actually a little envious.
That's true, but to be honest, you may be in a better financial situation now than he is. So all's well that ends well.
Valid point.
How was your bike ride last week?
It was cool. Are you familiar with the Florida Keys?
I've been there once, but I
Okay.
wouldn't say I'm familiar with.
So one of my buddies who's he's a state trooper, he just kind of came up with it in, I guess, January. He's like, "Hey, do you want to do this?" And sure, why not? Something stupid. I like doing stuff like that I've never done before. And so it was him, and then there ended up being 12 people total. And it was cool. So we called it the Walmart Challenge because everybody was on bikes that we bought from Walmart, which
Wow.
is like, so it's all like beach cruisers. The only problem is the tires were super cheap. So we ended up in, it's about 150 miles total. And we ended up changing, I think, 11 tires. So we had a bike, a guy that owned a bike store on it, or former owner of a bike shop, and he was just like nonstop, just boom, busting them out left and right. If he wasn't there, we wouldn't have made it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't terrible. It was cool because my family actually has a house down in the Keys, and so we've been going down forever. But I've never done something where I've seen it in that perspective, where normally you're driving and it's like, I don't know, you don't see as much when you drive, and this was pretty cool because going over some bridges and it was an experience. It was really cool.
Was it the length, the entire length of the Keys? Was that the ride?
Yeah, yeah. It was, well, it started before the Keys, so there's a place called Homestead. It ended up being I think it was like 148 or 150 miles total.
Over how many
So
days?
we did the bulk of it in 4 days. No, in 3 days. I'm sorry. The second day we ended up, there's this really like cool sandbar area that everybody goes to down by where we're located in a place called Isla Morada. And we took the boats out to this sandbar and just kind of hung out there and chilled all day. It's like this big, it's a chaotic like sandbar. It's just, there's a lot going on.
Like a
Um,
sandbar where people basically park their
Partying.
boats
Yeah.
and yeah,
Yeah,
stand in
yeah.
waist deep
And
water
just
and drink.
correct. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's exactly what it was.
Gotcha.
So we rode the first day, and the second day we rode like 10 miles and we went out there. So, and then the next day we did another 45, and then the following day was 50. And it wasn't bad. It was, I don't know. I train all the time. I always have ever since, high school. And it wasn't that bad. It was fun. It was really fun.
So you
So
train, you're training, you're in shape, but you don't ride a bike regularly.
never, never.
Gotcha.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like to run. So
Gotcha. Well, I'm gonna give you a proper introduction in post production so we can just roll straight
okay.
into it. Um,
Okay.
let's go all the way back. Where did you grow up?
So I grew up in a small town called Lavalette. It's in New Jersey. It's in central Jersey. Uh, I was very fortunate. My dad is from Pittsburgh and my mother is from North Jersey, a place called Roselle Park. And my dad's summer home was in Lavalette. And my dad's from like I said, outside of Pittsburgh, and he just didn't want to be out there. So he moved to a place called East Orange, and he was actually a school teacher. And he was there for about 4 months, and he realized that wasn't for him. And he wanted to live at the summer house. And fortunate for me, he moved to Lavalette. So it's this beautiful. Have you ever been to Jersey?
Yeah, but not Lavalette.
Okay. Um, I always tell people all the time, like where I grew up, it's some of the nicest beaches you'd ever see in your life. Just like the sand consistency, quality, ocean. It's just a beautiful place. Like I'm very fortunate. And so I grew up about 6 houses from the beach, in a small town where there would be, you know, 3,500 year-round residents, and then there would be 60 to 70 to 80,000 people in the summer. So it's a full resort town, and it's really a unique place. And it's gotten kind of crowded now. It's getting, busier. It's not a bad thing. It's just a little different than what I grew up in, and it's still just beautiful. And the waves were always fun. We have some jetties, and the waves are fun, and it's just really a cool place. Like you learn how to appreciate the seasons. You have all four seasons, and like summer and fall are just magic. And winter could go either way. And then, spring comes and it's magic again. So it's like, a really, really beautiful little town. And I still live with my wife and kids. We live it's about 3 miles from where I grew up, which is kind of something I always dreamed about is, being able to live where I grew up and, have surfing kind of pay for that. But it's really cool place. And, everyone's familiar with Casino Pier. So that's where I kind of grew up cutting my teeth and learning how to, navigate lineups and surf with other people. And it's really a unique little town, and it's a great area. In Jersey, any day of the year you can surf by yourself. And for so long I'd be up the street surfing by myself, and it's really a cool place, man.
There's little pockets in the surf world where you recognize people never move away from,
Mhm.
and then you realize why that's got to be the reason why, and like Jersey, when you think of like professional surfers that have come out of Jersey, um Maui is probably an even better example, where it's like if that same surfer lived on the North Shore of Oahu, or if they just went to the North Shore of Oahu, they would have 3 times the profile they do, except there's no reason to leave. Like
Yeah.
if they earned all the money in the world, they would just move back to Maui and try to live the life that they're already living, and I feel like that's often the case with people in Jersey.
Yeah, Jersey's very special. It's unique, right? So it's one of those, it's kind of like we've always gotten a bad rap, and sometimes deservedly so. Like the Jersey Shore, yeah, that's some pie in our face. That's literally 2 miles from where I am right now, and it's a mile from my house. It's like Seaside Heights is this crazy place. So, but it also had arguably one of the most consistent waves on the East Coast, one of the best waves on the East Coast. And when you see Jersey, when it's like as a surfer, when it's really doing its thing, there you're just blown away by what you're seeing. Uh, do you know who Mark McInnes is?
Yeah.
The photographer. So
Yeah.
Mark came out here 3 years ago, and he just like he came on a really good day in winter, and his jaw was just like, I can't believe what I'm seeing right now. Just because there's perfect waves. We have perfect beach breaks.
Right.
It's just not all the time. And then you take the grit and the attitude of the Jersey people. Every single person from Jersey has grit, and that's the one thing that I think you kind of see in all of us is there's some sort of grit. And it's just, I don't know, it's just I don't want to say it's a tough place, but like there's saltiness to us all here, and I think it does make it actually very unique and special, and it gives the surfers kind of a camaraderie, because we're always getting, I don't want to say like shit on by people, but Jersey doesn't have a good rap.
Yeah.
But when you come surf our waves, you're gonna change your mind.
So who were the iconic pros when you were growing up and an aspiring pro?
When I was growing up, I looked more towards, I had some really good surfers from my hometown. There was a guy named John Anderson who was kind of like this local legend who competed in Easterns, and he was a really good surfer. He still surfs great. And I always kind of looked up to him uh, growing up. Like Greg Masenko, Grog. You ever hear of
Mm,
Grog?
I don't think so.
Um, yeah, a guy named Tony G that started a surf shop called Ocean Hut. But a lot of the guys I looked up to were just kind of better local guys.
Yeah.
Um, we didn't have that, like there just wasn't that pro guy in our area. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like even, Dean Randazzo is from New Jersey, but he was from South Jersey, and I never saw him as a kid. I probably didn't see him till I was like 19 or 20. I didn't know a ton about him, and I'm not saying that he's like, in my eyes, he's the man. Um, but it's just growing up where I grew up from, it's not like a surf. Uh, there's a lot of really good surfers, but there was no professional surfer at that time. So I just kind of looked at the movies and TV, and that's kind of how I really learned. I I watched a lot of videos. I'd
Yeah,
come
yeah.
home every Tuesday night when I was a kid and watch Hot Summer Nights on ESPN to see the latest contest. That's, what I did.
So, what did a pro surf career look like to you, and what did your parents think when you were young and starting to pursue it? Did they realize that there was any actual potential there?
My parents were very, very awesome at allowing me to follow my own path, right? So
Okay.
I grew up wrestling. Uh, I probably could have gone to a smaller school to wrestle. It wasn't for me. I wanted to surf, and my parents after high school said, and I do okay, and like I do decent in Easterns and stuff, but I was competing with the Hobgoods and Asher Nolan and like Ben Bourgeois. You know, three of those guys were on the world tour, and one of them was a champ. So like growing up against those guys, it was hard. You're just sitting there like, all right, which one's going to take me out today? And
Yeah.
so I never actually did great in like Easterns and nationals. I think my highest placing in junior men's was, I think I got like a fifth, fourth in juniors my last year. And then in nationals, I wouldn't do great. So my parents were, I just told them I wanted to surf for a year. They're like, go ahead, do it. And they said, I'll give you 2 years. If you're not making some sort of income, then, you're going to have to either go to school or uh, come work for us. And my family owns a fairly prominent restaurant in Lavalette. Um, and they're like, so you have that choice. You can do this for a few years. If it doesn't work, you have opportunity to still go back to school if that's what you want to do, or uh, come work for us. And at that point and out of high school, I wasn't ready to go to college. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and so I was like, I'm gonna go surf for a winter, and I started getting in the magazines, and one thing led to another, and just kind of just started getting in magazines, and that's how my career started. Was I made friends with the right photographers.
What where did you go that winter?
Hawaii, Hawaii.
Okay.
So I would actually during the summers, I would actually go and work at a surf school in San Clemente. And I would, so I'd live in San Clemente State Parks like 15, 16, 17. And then I graduated high school when I was 17, went there literally like I graduated and got on a plane the less than 12 hours later. I was like, I'm out of here. I want nothing to do with Jersey right now. Went out there and just surfed, and I met like Greg and Rusty Long. They lived in the state park. So, I became friends with them, and they always had like really good surfers staying at their house. Fred Patachia, um, who else? A kid named Aaron Nalu, I remember growing up. So I was always around those guys, and they'd be like, "Let's go surf lowers," and I'd kind of just tag along, it was really I was really fortunate. I just kind of found my way into some of these groups, and I just took any opportunity I had and kind of ran with it, and you know that was it. I don't know, kind of forced my way to work. I had a good work ethic, so if a photographer was like, let's go shoot, I was like, let's go, and didn't matter if it was onshore or offshore. I don't care.
What you mentioned photographers and the importance of that relationship. Can you identify, name a couple of them that were influential?
Yeah, I mean, um a guy named Brian Nevins I worked with forever, who from New Hampshire. Seth Stafford. Do you remember Seth?
Of course.
Phenomenal, phenomenal, phenomenal waterman. And so I just started working with those guys a lot, and more like Seth when I was younger. I remember Fred Swagels. I remember working with him quite a bit,
It's a
and
big lowers
out
guy.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so like, and then I went to Hawaii and just started surfing, and kind of one thing led to another.
Um, what was the genesis of your relationship with Billabong?
How did uh
And the reason why I ask is just because I can't believe the longevity of that relationship.
yeah, it was long. So I started when I was 16, and I surfed for them. Uh Paul Gomez was my first team manager, right? And then they broke off and formed Hurley, and it seemed like everyone kind of was in limbo or jumped ship and went to Hurley. and there was a really good cast at Hurley, and I was like, you know what, I might be better off staying at Billabong because there's less people. So I stayed with them, and did you know Steve Clark?
No.
So Clarky's the reason that like AI signed on Billabong pretty much. He was like Clarky's guy. Um, and I just kind of knew the local rep around New Jersey, a guy named John Kleintop. And he's like, listen, I'm going to stay with Billabong. I would be happy if you did too. This was after 6 months of Hurley. And I didn't really have a contract at that point, and I think I was 18. And I was like, yeah, sure. And they offered me some money, and that was my first real sponsor. They were amazing. It was an amazing company to surf for. I couldn't be more proud of, you know, what I accomplished with them and what they provided me. And, it was such a great working relationship because when I was surfing professionally, I was more or less traveling and doing the photo deal and getting my stuff, printed. And they were happy because they didn't have to ask what I was doing. They didn't have to be like, oh, Sam's sitting on his ass doing nothing. I always had fresh stuff coming across their table because I'm gonna outwork people. That's kind of always been my mindset. And you know, it was a beautiful relationship. Like I've went through so many different, you know, I went through a few generations, like which is pretty remarkable.
And they went through a bunch of different iterations as a company as well. And
Yeah.
so we saw, every level of athlete kind of come and go. But I was really impressed just by how long you've maintained that relationship. So kudos to you.
Thank you. Well, it's one thing, because in the business world, right, it seems like you have to jump around to make more money. But at the same time, if you're happy where you are and you feel like you're getting your share of what you should be getting, and yeah, if I left, I could have made more money, but it probably wouldn't have lasted as long. Like I had a few friends that I used to travel with, and this one guy, like I swear every year he had a new sponsor, whatever the new company was, he was surfing for him. And I was like, that's not going to work well. And I was just happy with the people that I knew there. And I was content, like I wasn't trying to be greedy. I didn't feel like I needed to make a change. They were good to me and I tried to be good to them. And I feel like when you have that sort of relationship with people, it's people, right? That's who
Yeah.
we're dealing with. It's not like it's just a logo. You're dealing with people. When you build those relationships, if things are good, I just didn't feel the need to jump around. Um, my parents have always been very loyal, and they kind of instilled that in me when I was a young kid. Just be loyal to what you believe, and it goes a long way. And I just feel like I followed that path of what my parents taught me, and it worked out. So I was fortunate for that it was the same. I don't want to say it was the same owner for the whole time, but it was the same cast of characters in house. Like, and that just kind of made every transition a little bit easier because yeah, there's always question when things get sold, but if that cast that you're friends with is still there or you have that relationship, I don't know, I just felt comfort in that, and I just never felt the need to make a move.
Good. Well, it's a great fit. And it's
But that's over.
yeah. Well,
Yeah, we parted ways,
the
which
surf
was
world has changed so much, obviously, in
mm,
professional surfing and relationships with sponsors. Like, I'm not sure how equitable that stuff all is at this point. However, I still do see value in the local dude who, like, you are synonymous with Jersey. And so if a brand wants representation in that market, it makes all the sense in the world to just lock up the local hero guy, and to do that in each market if you can. And so I see tremendous value in it, but it sounds like what you're saying is you also know that's your market. And so you're not going to try to, be the global guy necessarily. You're happy with that market and you're happy living there and doing the thing for a long period of time there. So
yeah, it's listen, I knew where I stood. I knew where I stood on the pecking order, and that's totally content with that. It's but I was happy. they let me do what I want. You know, they were actually really, really cool to surf for, to work for. You know, if they wanted me somewhere, they told me they wanted me somewhere, and I was there, you know, early. um,
Yeah.
you know, so it's like, but as long as they see that I was working and I was getting stuff across their desk all the time, they're not gonna, you know, they trusted me, and
Yeah.
that goes a long way. It goes both ways. You know, if you're not gonna pester me to do more, and I'm still gonna do as much as I can, and like that's just who I was as and am, as I'm, like I said, I'm gonna try to outwork everybody. It's just kind of who I was.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. In hindsight and in light of kind of everything that we've already discussed, do you feel like your pro surf career was limited at all by your staying in Jersey throughout the whole career?
Um, do I feel like I was limited? Not really. I Is there some things I wish I could have changed? Yeah, but like I wish I competed a little bit more, but you know, I didn't, and you know, it seems like there's a decision to make sometimes where I was making a decent living, doing what I love, and it was it was profitable for me. I was surfing for some, you know, I was surfing for Red Bull at the time and surfing for some decent companies where I was making good money. Like, and I'm surfing every day. It's like, you know, so I don't want to say there's any regrets or anything. Uh, yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot the start
Well,
of
no,
that
it's just
question.
I was just talking about your, synonymous with Jersey. And so do you think the career was limited by the decision just to live there your entire career as opposed to like moving to the North Shore or Southern California for a period of time or whatever?
No, I spent a lot of time in Hawaii. I spent, you know, if you were to add it all up, I probably spent about 5 years of my life in Hawaii. When I was 17, I would go for about 4 months every year, and I spent a lot of time there. I spent a lot of time in Puerto. I spent a lot of time in California, and then I actually think that Jersey actually prolonged my career, which is kind of funny because what was the new thing, right? In like 15 years ago, cold water, right? Nobody wanted to do cold water. It didn't bother me. I grew up in it. You know,
Yeah.
so like I'd get asked to do some obscure trip to Iceland or Norway, just because I'm used to the cold. It never bothered me. So I kind of embraced it a little. The funny part about it is I didn't surf in the winters in high school I didn't surf in the winters until I graduated.
Yeah.
So I would just I would I had other things that I wanted to do. So I'd surf maybe like 3 to 4 times a winter from Thanksgiving to March. I would surf, you know, 4 times, 5 times, and that's it. So I never was really in the cold that much until I graduated high school. And then what happened was I had this conversation with somebody recently is I didn't realize how good the waves were at home until I graduated high school and I got to see waves at other places and I started surfing more in the winter and seeing, you know, what we have to offer is really impressive. And then, you know, you have a guy like Jason Murray who was from Jersey, or he had a summer house in LBI, and you know, now he's the editor at Surfer, knowing what the waves get like here, and it just, you know, it just worked. It was really good timing.
Yeah.
So, but like, I don't think it held me back. I think it actually opened up some avenues, you know, just to go on some really different trips to cold climates because not everyone wanted to do it.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Um, Tell me about the latest endeavor, Surf Health Pro, and what was the origin story of that? How did it develop?
So Surf Health was something that was thought up by my partner, Dave Santa Maria. Dave he was a collegiate wrestler. He's, you know, in Jersey, he was like, he was pretty good, badass wrestler, man. Like he was really good. 3-time state runner up in Jersey. And that's something, that's an accomplishment because Jersey, I don't know if you're familiar with Jersey or wrestling or anything like that, but Jersey's wrestling is like top notch. Um, and he came to me one winter. He he had helped me. I fractured my neck at some point, and every once in a while it would flare up, and he would help me through the pain and rehab it and everything like that. Um, so he's someone that I was friends with at an earlier age, you know, probably in our teens, we became friends. And he had helped me through some stuff with my body rehabbing. He owned a big rehab facility, and he sold it. And he's like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do something. And then he came up with the idea to start surf specific training. So he came to me and just said, are you interested? And I said, absolutely, let's go. You know, let's see what we can do. And you know, it's, I guess that was about almost 3 years ago. It kind of took a while. 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Yeah, almost, like, we started talking about 3 years ago, and now this will be our really second summer, like, fully going. And it's been good, man. It's been great. You know, it's stuff that uh as a trainer, he's really great with programming, you know, what works for you, not just some random person. It's not just some generic thing that doesn't work for everybody. He does an assessment with the way you move, and dials in a program for you. So it's been very good. It's growing, which is amazing. We're getting people, everyone's staying on the program, which is the biggest testament to what we're doing. And yeah, it's been really cool, man. It's been cool. But he's really smart.
Um, how old are you?
I'm 45.
45. Okay.
45, yeah.
What was your level of health and fitness prior to connecting with them and starting this?
I've always maintained, I came up from a wrestling background, and wrestlers are, you know, notorious for working hard and being in shape. And I just kind of always maintained that mindset, you know, just stay in shape. And you know, because, like, there was a lot of surfers that were better than me, but I felt like when I was in really good shape, I could, you know, I surfed better just because my body felt better, it moved better, I could surf longer. And it just gives you a confidence too. When you feel good, you have confidence. So I never maintained, I never got out of shape. Dave
Gotcha.
kind of took me to the next level. And you know, I've dealt with many trainers throughout my life, and you know, he's by far the best one I've worked with.
How do you describe the program? What does it consist of?
It's surf specific. It's a lot of like plyometric movements, a lot of mobility exercises, and some of the mobility stuff, it's so simple. And then you go and do it, and you're like, man, that's way tougher than I would ever imagine. It's just trying to get your body to move more efficiently, and you know, just so you can get stamina, so you can surf better, you know, surf longer. And just, you know, like, it's like anything. When you feel better about anything, you're going to have more confidence, especially in the ocean, where you're not in, like, you're not in control out there. You're in control of you, but you know, the ocean's in control. And when you have more confidence, and you just feel stronger and better about yourself, I mean, it's gonna pay off. But I always say his mobility stuff's really remarkable. His mobility training.
Um, is it like in person? Is it something you can do online? And then what is the time commitment? How frequent? All that stuff.
The time commitments, it's kind of up to you, how frequent, how many days. He schedules. So what he does is he'll do a Zoom with you, and he'll ask you through all these different mobility and like mobility exercises. He watches and sees how your body moves, makes an assessment on there, talks to you obviously about things that you feel like you're lacking in your physical conditioning and strength, and he'll provide you a program. I, like, personally, I'm on a 4-day program with him, and you know, it's great. It's sometimes it you know, the mobility stuff is, he'll give you 7 days a week, and then a lot of it's post surf. So like, I'm supposed to do stuff after I surf. I didn't do it today, um, but a lot of times I do, just because I do know when I'm doing this stuff, like, I feel better. I'm 45. I'm not getting any younger. I need, like, you know, every ounce of movement, or like every possible anything I can gain, you know, from just moving. We get stiff, man. It's not
Yeah.
easy getting out of bed every day.
I know old age is, it really compounds, like the setbacks.
Yeah.
It just takes that much more work just to get to like break even again. Like it's hard to get into I mean, there's nothing that beats youth is kind of what it comes down to.
No, there's not, but it just seems like if you know, like the word motivation isn't really a great word. I feel like there's, as long as you're consistent and you do things consistently, it just turns out a lot better than motivation. I guess it's just more discipline and trying to do something every day. It really does go a long way, and especially as we get older, I think. So my dad's, he's 80, and he's like goes to the gym every day, and he's honestly the youngest 80-year-old I know, and
Hmm.
it's pretty remarkable. But and he's always been a gym rat. He was a marathon runner, and he just always like kind of pushed himself. But I look at him and I look at his friends, and I'm like, what is going on here? Because he looks like he's 15 years younger than most of these people.
Wow.
And it's just because he took care of his body. He, like, don't get me wrong, he beat it up, but at the same time he took care of it, and it shows now. And he kind of always instilled that in us, and my sister and myself, like, you know you take care of yourself at an earlier age so that you're better when you're older, is kind of what his philosophy was, and it seems to be working for him. So I'm gonna stick to it also.
I mean, the thing that I always think about is quality of life, because
Mhm.
you have a lot of people who live into their 90s, but if they're wheelchair ridden or if they're stuck inside all the time, then that's no way to live. And so the idea of being able to surf to that age or to do the things that you enjoy doing is the reason to do it.
100%. If yeah, I don't want to get old. I don't want to not get tubed. And when on the day of the year, it's like, yeah, I want to be out there grinding with Rob Kelly, who's 12 years younger than me. I want to
Exactly.
grind with those guys. Like, I still want to outdo those guys. So the only way I can really do it is really just take care of myself in a better way,
Do you
and stay with it.
do you believe that your best surfing could still be ahead of you?
um, I don't know. I don't know, just because of the time commitment that it takes to have that kind of. Uh, I feel better than I've ever felt on a surfboard, especially when the waves are good. Just I feel smoother. Uh, I'm probably not as fast as I was or quick, but I feel like when when you're older, you have more knowledge, you have more awareness, so you learn, right? But there are times where my body doesn't want to do things, yeah, or just isn't as quick as it used to be. So I don't know if my best surfing's ahead of me, but I'm gonna hold on to my skill set as long as I can, and I'm gonna, I'm really fighting it.
I mean,
But you look, go ahead.
when you see some of what Kelly does at this age, you know, he's not as nimble and spry maybe as he was way back when, but you could argue some of the best surfing he's still doing now, especially at big cloud break, big pipe, stuff like that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, he's surfing phenomenal. It's incredible. But he's also like a freak. So, but I
But
think with
he's
all
but he's
his,
very focused on his body and like allowing
yes,
him the potential to perform at that level when the wave presents itself.
yeah, correct. I mean, he's so smart at that. It's incredible. I listened to something one time with him, how he tries not to overexert himself, and I thought that was really fascinating, because I like, when the waves are really good here, I can't walk the next day. Like, it hurts to get out of bed, just because I just, like, I kill myself, because I know that day is only once in a blue moon. And just when you hear a different theory or a different thought or a different belief, from him, it's like, man, it makes you think. It's pretty
So
cool.
so when you said that, I thought you meant like in the gym, like not
No,
overexert himself with weightlifting or something, but you're talking about in the ocean.
I think in the ocean. I think that's how he meant it. I don't know, but I've never, like, I just heard that quote and I just thought it was kind of fascinating. I wish I asked him one time, but I never have.
That is very interesting because I mean, maybe the reasoning there is I don't want to injure myself. Like I'm going to
Hmm.
be doing this I'm going to be doing this till I'm 100. Every injury compounds with age. And so if I have zero injuries, that means I got a better chance of doing it at that level. So it might be the day of days, which is exciting, but over the course of your lifetime, you're going to get a bunch of those.
Yeah,
Who cares
I
if you
know.
miss one?
It's just so hard to pass up when you see those rights just spitting left. It's too much. Can't
I
handle
know. I know.
it.
That's that Jersey grit in you.
Yeah. It's yeah. I don't know. I'm gonna exert myself if it comes along again. But yeah. So it's just you gotta take care of yourself. Easy.
So what do you do in terms of diet, or do you have any dietary restrictions?
I've gone through every diet phase you could ever imagine, from vegan to vegetarian to tried doing the keto thing, and I've tried it all. I think everyone's different, and you have to do what works best for you. For me, I found that just I love candy, and I can't eat it anymore. Like, because that's when my neck flares up from just injury. It's from, like, if my diet's really bad, it comes out. If my diet's good and I'm not eating junk, but I try to eat pretty clean. I don't eat fast food. I do not. I actually don't eat poultry. I haven't had poultry probably since high school. Um, I go through phases where I'll eat meat and then I won't eat meat, but I eat a lot of fish. I just try to eat a lot of vegetables and kind of proteins, and stick to that. This past year I've been eating a lot more meat than I have in the past, and I actually feel really good. Whereas
Hmm.
sometimes in the past I didn't feel as great. I did notice with a vegan diet, I felt amazing. Like, the inflammation in my body was way down, but I also feel like I didn't have the strength that I normally do. And in the ocean, you kind of need that strength. So I just think everyone works differently. I found out what works for me at an early age, just from wrestling and doing all that stuff. Where you're where you're trying to cut weight and stuff. But you know, you just trial and error, man. Like I said, I just think everyone's different.
When you say the inflammation was way down, how do you
Mhm.
identify that in your body?
Uh, you just feel it. If you surf a lot one day, you're sore or you're not. And when I was on the vegan diet, I was not sore. I was never sore. I never felt like I was stiff or like I was swollen. I never felt like my legs were tense, because I love to run, and I never felt that, like, soreness the day after. And I feel like that's the inflammation from you doing that physical exercise and exerting yourself. Whereas I feel like when you ever just go off of, like, you're on vacation, right? And you're eating whatever you want 'cause you're on vacation, having a good time for a few days. Um, and you just feel like almost swollen a little bit, I guess, is the way I would describe it. I just feel like that's the inflammation and the feeling that you get after exerting yourself really drastically a few days. And when I was doing the vegan thing, I didn't feel that ever. But I also know that I didn't have the strength, because there was times I'd be surfing and I would do a turn and get bucked off my board for no reason. And I'm like, what just happened? And I just felt like I just didn't have that, like, strength. And lately I've been doing a lot of lean meats. I'll do probably meat 2 to 3 days a week, and then the rest I do fish. Um, I'm a big seafood guy, so it's
What's the idea with avoiding poultry?
personal, just personal. It's
Okay.
there's no reason, no rhyme or reason. I drove. You ever drive from New Jersey to Virginia Beach?
No.
There's a few poultry plants.
Gotcha.
And I just have that weird, I don't know. I just driving by those plants and then seeing poultry and knowing what it smelt like, I just can't do it. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just a personal thing. It has nothing against it. Like I said, I think everything I think everybody's different, and things work for some people that don't work for others, and
Right.
vice versa. And just the poultry thing, I can't even look at it.
Well, that's a good point to bring it back to. You were saying sometimes you eat meat, sometimes you don't. The sourcing of the meat is
Yeah,
also hugely
huge.
important. And
Yeah.
so that poultry plant is not a great source. That's not going to serve your body well. It's not good for
No.
a lot of reasons, but natural sources of meat are like harvested meat that you're harvesting on your own is it's more dense, nutrient dense, it's better
Yeah.
ethically, it's better in all ways.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. I unfortunately, like in New Jersey, I don't have those great resources, but
Yeah.
I can't hunt. I can't kill something. I can
Hmm.
kill fish, but I couldn't kill an animal. Um, so yeah, but I do know where my meat's coming from, and like this, I do go to a few stores specifically, you know.
The common denominator that I ask people about their health and diet lots of times on the podcast, especially if they're surfing into an older age. And the one thing that you mentioned that seems to be a common denominator that everybody figures out at a certain point is just cutting out sugar.
Yeah,
Like sugar is horrendous for you. It has zero
so bad.
benefit and it's just bad in a myriad of ways.
Yeah, it's terrible. And it like the thing with when you're traveling a lot, it's so easy just to grab a bag of candy because when you wake up earlier at a weird time, you're hungry. You know, my good friend Mike Gleason and I, we used to drive up to New England and go surf all the time. Like we'd surf here one day, get in the car, drive up to New England and go surf. And it was always a joke because we'd always take the most obscure bag of candy and stick it right between us. And like, who's gonna open it first? So it was like a joke. But we'd consume so much candy on these drives. It was just like, what were we doing, and
Your
since
body,
cutting that out, yeah,
yeah, your body processes it when you're young in a way that it feels like it doesn't affect you, but you create an addiction with it. And so it becomes just a natural craving for you at a certain point that's hard to break.
100%. And it's really hard to break. It's really, really hard to break. The reason I really gave it up was because I guess it was 6 years ago. Um, I was surfing New Jersey, and my I had like a neck injury the year before, and it hurt, but it wasn't terrible. And then a year later, I fell surfing, and I was eating like crap, and I fell surfing, and my head kind of snapped, and I just got this like stinger right down my back and through my arm. Woke up the next day, and my whole left side was just like in excruciating pain. And I was going to Hawaii that morning with my family, and I couldn't surf for like, we were there for 3 weeks, and it was the most excruciating 3 weeks of my life. And just kind of waking up, just chewing on Tylenol just to make it feel better. And I swear it's because I was eating so bad that happened. Came home, got it fixed from. I'm a huge believer in acupuncture. Um, got it fixed from my acupuncturist, and then I started. It would happen every once in a while where I was locked up for a few days, and finally I figured out that when I cut the sugar out, it doesn't happen.
Mm,
It just doesn't happen. So
amazing.
I cut the sugar out, and it's been, knock on wood, it's been a few years since I've had a flare up. And
That's
the
amazing.
only thing that I could really think of that actually changed was I don't eat that much sugar anymore.
Yeah.
And listen, I'm not going to say I never eat sugar because, yeah, like I'm going to treat myself here and there. But at the same time, I don't eat the processed candy that I used to eat. Like, who doesn't love Swedish fish?
Yeah. No, you're right. Those are directly correlated for sure. Rocketmoney.com/surf. Just this week, my wife figured out she was paying a subscription for Showtime, but then also paying for Paramount Plus, which includes Showtime for free. That's precisely what Rocket Money was designed for. A modern tool that meticulously tracks the details that we easily get distracted from. It's a finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions,
monitors your monthly spending, and helps you lower your bills. It gives you freedom by helping you see your subscriptions in a simple dashboard and alerts you about hidden fees or increases. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has helped save its members an average of $720 a year with over $500 million in canceled subscriptions. Stop wasting money on things that you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/surf. Calm the clutter in your head, simplify the tedium of your financial life, and find freedom through rocketmoney.com/surf. Since you brought up your road trips with Gleason, I've heard you say that you live by a rule that you never drive south.
Yeah.
Can you tell me anything about the quote north of nowhere spots? Or you can decline to answer.
Yeah. There's I just always live by a rule, never drive south. There's a lot of reasons for that. So like, Jersey, there's North Jersey and there's Central Jersey on the surf scene, right? So it's Jersey's kind of funny, right? So I'm trying to just think about how to say this. It's South Jersey guys and North Jersey guys. We didn't, I don't want to say we didn't mesh, but we didn't really surf in each other's places, right? It kind of took I feel like my generation was really the first, let's say like Frank Walsh was a really good friend of mine and still is, but we would always go surf each other's waves. And I just always felt like the waves, when Jersey's good, it's better up here. So I'd always joke with them, say, I'm not driving south to go surf. There's kind of like a Mason-Dixon line in New Jersey, and it's kind of right where my house is. And just never felt the need to really go down there until the past like 10 years, because when their waves were good, our waves were good at Casino Pier. During Hurricane Sandy, Casino Pier fell into the ocean and they never rebuilt it. So now when we get these certain winds, there's really nowhere to go up here. So you kind of have to go south. So, I'll never say I regret saying that, because it was a good joke. It was fun, but I really don't drive south to go surf. I haven't surfed North Carolina in quite some time. And that's just because I've just found some really good waves with less people out.
Yeah.
So by going north.
Fair enough.
And yeah, and like there's there's some really good waves in New England. It's just, you're gonna miss some swells and miss some really good days at home in order to find them. But if you could surf some really good waves by yourself and 2 friends, 3 friends, it's priceless.
Completely, yeah. And I mean, the reality is, even we don't need to fully break it down, but even in Jersey, where it is fully broken down and you see visuals of it all the time, the cold is its own barrier. Like that just keeps people from coming.
Yes, it did. It seems like we're getting really, it's cool now because you have guys like Tosh Tudor, you get guys from like South, Simon Thetrick. Ballram is, I feel like he's really brought a lot of people to surf here. Like there's been a few days in Long Island where you're surfing with like Yaden Nickel and Ian Crane, and like you're getting really good surfers up here now in winter. And that's awesome. Like, cause they see what goes on.
Yeah.
And it's just, with the progression of wetsuits and the technology of wetsuits, it's made everything a lot more accessible.
Totally.
And with Surfline saying, hey, it's going to be good to Epic here on Thursday, people are coming in.
Yeah.
Like we had a pretty good run of waves this year, and some of the guys, like, I'm looking out and I'm just going, what's going on here? Like, there's really good surfers here.
Cool.
Really, really good surfers flying in just for these swells. And it's fun, it just makes things fun. And seeing good guys at your home break, it's cool, man. It's just going to push the envelope for me and the younger kids and everyone else around. So, welcome it, open arms. But you're
Well,
just
yeah,
starting to see more people.
for now, you welcome it because there's still plenty of empty waves, it seems.
Mhm.
Sometimes on YouTube, people publish those raw clips of a session, and you just see endless empty waves up and down the beach. And there's a couple guys on the good ones, but there's still tons of other ones going by. So,
Yeah, we're lucky where we live. Listen, I always said it, and I swear by this. On any given day of the year, whether it's the best day or the worst day, it could be the greatest day that you've ever seen here. You can find an empty peak, and it's just in the wintertime when we have those swells, there's safety in numbers, so people kind of go
yeah,
to the same places. Um, but a lot of times, there's two or three of us that are out before everybody else, and you know, we're by
yeah.
ourselves. It's great. But
Um,
unfortunately, people follow cars now. So they learn your
yeah,
car and it's like, I'm going there.
totally. Um, how much surf traveling are you doing now?
Not much, not much. I surf because I own a surf schools. So through the surf schools, I'll do some trips. I go away for about like, I don't know, we go to Costa Rica for 2 weeks every year. And then I'll just kind of day trip it here and there. If I want to go to New England for a day to go surf some different waves, some point breaks and stuff, maybe a little ledgy slab or something. But it's not like it used to be. It's not like it used to be, and that's fine. It's a different. I feel like I'm in a different phase of life where it's acceptable. I'm not afraid to miss every swell, and it's just it's more enjoyable to be honest with you.
That was actually in my list of questions was has your kind of day-to-day desire to surf, has it waned at all?
Uh, it's a good question. Does it wane? Not really. Like I still want to surf good waves, but if it's not going to be, what? It's a funny question because you don't want to be out of shape and not ready for those good days, right? You never know
Yeah.
when those good days are coming here. It could come tomorrow. It could come in December. We don't know. But I don't want to be second guessing my ability when the waves are really good. So I think that's the driving factor of staying consistent with surfing as much as you can and just staying in the water. It's still fun to me. It's something I love to do. It's it's a beautiful sport, and it's just the ocean. I mean, there's nothing like being in the ocean for prolonged periods of time. It's just so, I don't know. There's nothing like it to me. So I still love to surf. I surf as much as I can. Uh, is it hard if it's onshore? Like, yeah, I'm not going to surf those days where it's 20 miles an hour on southeast winds. If it's northeast, I'll surf. If it's southeast, I'm not gonna. We get really good like chunky waves out of the northeast. And it's still my favorite conditions to surf when it's like 20, 25 miles an hour onshore. But if it's from a little bit different direction, it just makes everything really choppy and messy. And I can't tell you the last time I surfed a day that had that southeast wind just because I just don't want to do it anymore, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Um, it's just not as enjoyable as that. Those sessions aren't as enjoyable. But like I feel like when those good days come along, you know, I still love the camaraderie of surfing with my friends and surfing with the younger guys that are, crushing it. Let's say like Balaram and Simon Thetrick comes up a lot and Seth Conboy and then there's like Pat Schmidt. I love surfing with Pat. Pat's the happiest person in the lineup every time. And it's just really cool. And there's another group of friends and Mike Gleason. Like I could list a bunch of people. And it's fun. That's the fun part still is trying to outdo those guys. And we're still all competitive with one another because we all want to get the best wave. And
Yeah.
that's fun to me. I enjoy that. And that I don't think that'll go away anytime soon.
Yeah. Um, I was asking you about surf travel. Are there any surf trips that are still bucket list items?
Yes, there is. I want to go back to Iceland really bad. There's a few waves there that I surfed that I didn't feel like I surfed well, and it's really eating at me. There's one session, it's been eating at me for a long time. There's one session in the movie under an Arctic sky, with Chris Burkard, surfing with Timmy Reyes and Justin Quintal. And we came around this corner, and there's this pumping right. But when you were surfing the right, it looked like every wave was closing out. And then you'd get out of the water and you'd see the perfect waves. And then you'd see that every wave was closing out. And it was just this weird bubble in the wave. And it was really, really hard to figure out. So like half the day, 3/4 of the day, we weren't really getting the best waves because we all thought they were closing out. And then you look at the video and you're just like, I can't believe what I'm seeing right now, you know? But just the way the wave presented itself when you're dropping in, it just, it looked like it was going to close out, and it didn't. So I'd like to go back there. There's another really good wave there that I want to surf. And then I actually really want to go to Alaska to surf. It's always kind of been, I don't know, a dream scenario. I like raw, cold places. And I feel like I've gotten to surf a fair amount of them. And especially, Chris Burkard brought me on some really, cool adventures. And I just kind of like that sense of adventure and finding something new, and that'll never go away either. But so Alaska's kind of on my bucket list too. But everywhere else, I'm pretty content. I'm pretty content. I would always do things until I got sick of it. So I surfed so much in Hawaii. I don't get sick of it. I just kind of don't need to go back. Even though I'll go back, don't get me wrong. Same goes for like a place like Puerto Escondido. Like I spent so much time there that I don't need to go back. I feel like I've gotten the best stuff I'm going to get there. But yeah, I still do have some places that I want to go, and I really want to go to Portugal also.
Mm. Those spots in Iceland, have they become populated with surfers since you guys were there?
I don't think so. I don't think so. It's such a unique place. If you ever get the opportunity to go, I can't recommend it enough. It's just different. It's just a different place. And
Yeah.
I'm trying to, like, when you try to think of places that are similar, there's really not much that's similar to Iceland. Like, you have four different, it's just a unique place. Like, I swear the northwestern corner reminds me of Norway. And then you go down to like the south and it's just completely different. And it's just so diverse. You have black sand beaches, and it's just a really cool place. Really, really
Yeah.
cool place. People are nice, and yeah, man, I tell everybody, if you ever have the opportunity, jump on it.
Yeah.
But I don't think the surf community is pretty small. They're all very friendly. I don't think there's any localism, but it's
No, but
just cool.
just the popularity of the film. I was wondering if that drove much tourism that way.
I think more people surf there since, yeah. Um, Chris is living there, if I'm not mistaken.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah, I'm pretty sure he's living there. Yeah,
Wow.
so that's what I'd heard. I'm like 90% sure.
Crazy.
And it's just a cool place. It really is a unique country, and everyone's super friendly. And I still talk to those guys every once in a while. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's one place I'd like to go back to, just for like a redemption swell.
Yeah, totally. What surf media do you follow nowadays?
Uh, it's hard, man. I'm a magazine guy. I miss the magazines. Like, I love surf magazines. It's crazy to think that, what is it, just Surfer's Journal, really?
And Surfing World in Australia.
And Surfing World in Australia. But you can't get that over. I guess you can if you go to a bookstore or something. Um, I just look at all the online sites. Stab, I think Stab's really interesting. Surfline, I listen to a lot of podcasts and stuff like that. Um, but that's really it. I don't follow it as closely as I used to. I kind of follow it from a distance nowadays, and it's kind of nice, not gonna lie.
Yeah. What's nice about it?
Just like, I can get consumed in things.
Yeah,
And when
yeah.
I was younger, I was just so wrapped up in it. And, to take a step back and just kind of watch and admire what's going on in the surf world nowadays. And I find yeah, it's just cool to watch from afar. And I don't know. it's just kind of a lot more relaxing to say the least, because I don't have to worry about it day in, day out. I love to surf. I love surfing more than anything. But like, you know, the scene, it's not like the industry's out here, so like it's not like I see it every day, day in, day out. A lot of my friends don't surf. And that's all right by me. You know what I mean?
Totally. I very much relate. Um, who's surfing do you admire?
Oh, right now, uh there's so many people. I think a lot of the kids on tour are just nuts. I like the guy Torrin Martin a lot. He's not on tour, but I can watch that guy surf all day long. I love to watch people that are really good on twin fins. I'm really blown away by like Asher Pacey and the Victor Bernard guy. But really, Torrin Martin is like I could watch that guy surf all day. Ethan Ewing is, to me, he's the best surfer on tour. Just by the lines he's drawing and the control and speed. And uh, I don't know, I'm more of a Taylor Knox guy. I grew up idolizing Taylor Knox. He's been like who I'd watch day in, day out. It was Martin Potter and then Taylor Knox. And so I love the rail game, and I could watch rail surfing, when it's seamless as Ethan Ewing is doing. It's, oh man, it's so impressive. It's so impressive. So that's kind of who I watch. But I'd say it's kind of more like Torrin Martin, to be honest with you. I watch a lot of him. He's really, really fun to watch.
So
So
have you transitioned onto twin fins and mid lengths?
no, not mid lengths. Not mid lengths. I ride a fair amount of twin fins. Yeah.
Okay.
I'd say like probably 60% of my surfing is done on some sort of twin fin.
Okay.
Yeah, and
What, who are you getting boards
well,
from now?
Firewire.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know if
Yeah,
that was still in
Firewire.
place.
Yeah, Firewire. So I've been riding like that great whiteboard. And then I like Machado's boards, to be honest with you. The fishes, they're really fun.
Yeah.
I just like going fast. Like, especially as we get older, people ask me, well, what kind of board are you riding? And I'm like, I don't ride a tri-fin that much anymore. I want to go fast with effortless speed. And it's like, I don't have to work for it as hard.
Yeah.
Where if I'm on a tri-fin, I'm not trying to qualify. So there's no reason for me to be like, sitting trying to do turns like I'm trying to qualify.
Um, what's your preferred construction from Firewire?
Uh I get a few customs from Dan Mann. So when our waves get really good, I'm on it's kind of like a modified FRK, a little bit thicker in the front. And it's like their custom construction. It's basic EPS or epoxy. And it's just, I don't know the true construction of this board, but I love the way they feel under my feet when the waves are good. They're lighter, but they're not super light. And
Yeah.
they're just fast, man. They're responsive and fast. And, most of the time when the waves are good here, I ride them as quads just because, it's kind of a longer, racier tube. It gets super square, but there's some times where I'll put it as a tri, but not very often. I prefer them as quads. And yeah, Dan Mann's made some really cool boards, really, really cool boards. But right now I'm stuck on that two fish board. Have you ever seen that
I
one? The
don't
two
think so,
fish.
no.
Yeah, it's one of Machado's. It's just kind of this wide tail, but when the waves are softer and mushier, it's just so fast and mows through some flat sections like there's a full wave in front of you.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
really remarkable. So
Um, Kind of final question as just a follow-up to a couple of names that you mentioned. Does Frank Walsh still surf?
yeah, he still surfs a bunch. Actually a fireman in Atlantic City.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a fireman in Atlantic City. Um, he's great, man. He's the best. I talk
That's
to him
cool.
every 2 weeks or so, and um, he's the best, man. He's just a great guy. Did you know Frankie?
I've never met him. I just admired his
Yeah.
surfing when I was young.
Oh, his backhand's so good. Still, it's crazy. His
Good.
backhand, like, because he was like when we were growing up, he was kind of my main competitor, and we actually became really good friends, and we'd always push each other, but his backhand was like, I always admired it. It's really cool.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. What about uh Randazzo? Is he still surfing?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't, I haven't seen him in about a year.
Okay.
Um, I don't know what's going on there.
Gotcha. Yeah, I hadn't heard or seen those updates either. Um,
Yeah, I don't.
yeah. Very good. Well, obviously people know where to follow you on social media. I'll direct everybody in
Cool.
post, but for Surf Health Pro, what's the best way to sign up or get a hold of the program?
Just find our Instagram at Surf Health Pro, and then just send us a message, and we'll follow up with you, a DM.
Sweet. And
Yeah, it's the best way.
Hammer Surf
Yeah,
School for anybody starting out too, right?
yeah, we do everything. We do like beginners to people that are competing, and you know, um, yeah, it's an adventure. We have 7 locations and 80 some odd employees. It's kind of quite the business.
When
Yeah.
did you when did you start it?
This will be our 15th season.
Crazy.
Yeah, so a long time ago. It's just, no, it's in the surf world. It's either you get locked into a job, you get out of the surf world. You either stay in the surf industry by being over here a rep or something like that. And I just didn't want to do that. So I started the school, and it turned into a full business. And it's really kind of, my wife had a lot to do with that, was, sitting me down saying, hey, like, if you're going to do this, make it work. And then she took over a lot of the back end on it. And yeah, what she did, it was really remarkable, and I couldn't do it without her. So, but it's been an adventure, 15 years.
Well,
So it's cool.
that's what I was going to say is the amazing part there is it growing it and scaling the business essentially in the way that you have because um, it's tedious to actually be get teaching the lessons and to be doing the administrative and all that sort of stuff. So be able to scale up and delegate all of those roles is that's the hard part.
Yeah, it took a lot of learning, and it took her really opening my eyes. She was an editor at women's magazines and writer, freelance writer, and she still freelance writes now. But like, she was the one that really sat me down and said, like, you know, you're running this like a kid, like, you got to fix it. Because I never went to school. I just kind of, if I had business questions, I would ask my parents. And yeah, it's really grown, and it's cool. I mean, we went from 5 employees the first year, and 2 years ago we had like 93 employees, something ridiculous. And it was, we needed every one of them during the COVID years. We're trying to scale it down a little now, to be honest with you, just to kind of make it a little bit less chaotic. Just because when you're dealing with that many people, it's intense. It's intense. On any day, somebody's going to have a bad day.
Of course.
You're just trying to limit those, But yeah, it's been an adventure, and you definitely learn a lot for sure.
Yeah.
So
So where does it, are you guys all locations are in New Jersey?
yes, yeah,
Okay.
it's like basically I live in a place called Seaside Park, and we run all the way up to Monmouth County, and we have 3 main school locations, and then we work out of 4 other places.
Gotcha.
So it's been yeah, it's cool, man. It's a lot of fun, in the water, teaching surfing and teaching what I love, and you come across some really cool people and some different stories. And a lot of it too is it's fun because there's things that I think are easy that other people don't, and you're trying to share your love, and it's almost like solving a puzzle, like, how's it going to work for this person, or how's it going to work for this person, because their body moves different.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then seeing the ocean, not everyone sees the ocean the same, and just trying to pass your knowledge on, and try to get people to see what you're seeing. It's tough, and every year you learn something new, and you think about your surfing more. So it's actually, I like you said, is my best surfing ahead of me? No, but it's definitely the teaching and stuff makes you think differently, and apply things differently, and you know, you pay attention to more mechanics and stuff like that from other surfers, which I always did, but now it makes you really break it down and think about how they're actually doing it. So it's cool. It's fun.
Yeah, that's what I hear from you saying that is it's a great way to stay engaged with surfing in a way that keeps the passion alive. Because, like you were talking about earlier, when you're just under the microscope of professional surfing and thinking about the industry, somehow becomes about something other than surfing itself, and it feels like a job at a certain point. It
Yeah.
just feels like it's all consuming. And there's no better example of just making it about surfing than teaching somebody how to surf and being in the water with them, seeing it through a new person's eyes, rethinking it, all of that stuff.
Yeah. And just, I mean, sharing the excitement is like, you know, when it clicks in someone's brain, like it's the best feeling. Like, you know, when somebody accomplishes something that they've always wanted to do, or they thought they could never achieve, there's no better feeling than knowing that you might have helped that person get to that spot. And to me, it's so rewarding. It really is.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like, it's a great sport. We do it for a reason, right? And why not share it? It's my thought.
Yeah. No, completely. I forget that you're right. That is people's dream of, like, if they're sitting in a high-rise building in Manhattan under fluorescent lights all day, every day, and their dream is to one day ride a wave. That's remarkable, you know?
Remarkable. And it's something that we can so easily take for granted.
Totally do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally
So it's
jaded.
cool.
Right
Yeah.
on.
So
Well, great to officially connect with you, man. Congrats
yeah.
on, I mean, on a really success story of, like, transitioning, having a really flourishing surf career and being able to transition that into multiple endeavors that are aligned with your passion.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on, and yeah, thank you so much for the kind words. It means a lot.
No, it's fantastic to watch and to see. So keep it up, man.
Cool. We'll do. Thank
All
you.
right. Have a good one.
All right, Dave. Thank you.
All right. See ya.
Bye.
Surf Splendor.